Your morning drink isn't just waking you up. It may be quietly reprogramming how your body ages, starting at the cellular level. So before you think about your skincare routine, before you reach for supplements, and before you even consider your workout, there's something far more influential already in motion. Because deep inside your body, there's a hidden system working nonstop: your stem cells. These are the repair units, the quiet builders responsible for regenerating tissue, maintaining skin elasticity, supporting metabolism, and slowing down visible aging. And what most people don't realize is that these cells are highly sensitive to the internal environment you create first thing in the morning. Think of your body like a city under repair overnight. Your stem cells are the construction crew, fixing damage, restoring structure, keeping everything functioning smoothly. But the moment you wake up and take that first sip, you're either giving that crew high-quality fuel to keep working efficiently, or you're pouring sand into the engine, slowing everything down. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Many of the most common morning drinks people rely on are quietly triggering stress signals inside the body, disrupting this repair process before the day even begins. What's even more surprising is how fast this shift can happen. Not over years, but in just days. Within just 30 minutes of a high-sugar morning drink, your blood sugar can spike by 50 to even 100%, setting off a rapid chain reaction inside your body. It's not just a spike, it's more like a biochemical storm. Glucose floods your bloodstream, insulin surges, and at the same time, oxidative stress begins to rise, like tiny invisible sparks flying through your system, colliding with and damaging delicate cellular structures. Now bring that closer to what really matters. This repeated surge day after day acts like micro wear and tear on your internal repair network. The environment your stem cells depend on becomes unstable, inflamed, and less efficient at doing the very job that keeps tissues strong, skin resilient, and systems balanced. And the most important part, this isn't some distant long-term risk. It's happening inside you. This morning. Here's what no one is telling you. I am Dr. Christal. I've spent years working with patients in their 40s, 50s, and beyond who felt like their energy, recovery, and even their appearance were declining faster than they expected. They would come in frustrated, saying things like, "I'm doing everything right, but something still feels off." And when you looked closer, the pattern was almost always the same: persistent fatigue that didn't match their lifestyle, weight that became harder to manage despite clean eating, slower healing from minor injuries, skin that looked more dull, less resilient, almost like it had lost its glow. These weren't extreme cases. They were everyday people trying to take care of themselves, but not getting the results they deserved. At first, it didn't make sense. Because many of them were consistent with exercise, they were mindful about their food choices. Some were even taking high-quality supplements. On paper, they were doing what we're told should work. But then I started noticing something unusual. Something subtle that kept showing up across different patients, different lifestyles, different age groups. They all shared one overlooked habit: their morning drinks. It wasn't just what they were eating throughout the day. It was what they were drinking first thing in the morning that was quietly shaping their internal environment before anything else even had a chance to matter. And once I began to look at it through that lens, everything started to click. Because that first drink isn't neutral. It sets the tone for your blood sugar, your stress response, your inflammation levels, and most importantly, the environment your cells are waking up into. The good news is, this is one of the simplest things to fix. You don't need a complicated protocol, you don't need extreme changes. And what surprised even me was how quickly the body responds when you shift this one variable. When we changed just this one habit, I started seeing improvements not in months, but within weeks. Better energy, more stable mood, subtle but noticeable changes in skin quality. Even recovery began to feel different. And the reason why this happens comes down to something most people have never been taught. In this video, I'm going to show you what's actually happening inside your body after your morning drink, and why that one small choice has a much bigger impact than most people realize. We're going to break this down step by step. First, I'll walk you through the hidden metabolic mechanism that gets activated the moment you take that first sip. Then we'll look at how rapid glucose spikes don't just affect your energy, but directly influence your body's ability to repair and regenerate at the cellular level. From there, we'll go deeper into the role of inflammation and oxidative stress, two silent processes that can either support healing or slowly interfere with it. And most importantly, I'll explain why your stem cells, the very foundation of tissue repair and healthy aging, depend on a stable, low-stress internal environment to function properly. Now don't worry, we're going to keep this simple and visual, so you can actually picture what's happening inside your body instead of just hearing complicated terms. And once you understand that, I'll give you something even more practical. I'll walk you through a clear morning drink strategy. What to drink, when to drink it, and how to prepare it in a way that actually supports your metabolism instead of working against it. Because here's where most people get it wrong. Even when they try to drink healthy, they're still unknowingly creating the same internal stress signals. By the end, you'll have a simple, repeatable morning system you can follow. Something that works with your body, supports your energy, and helps your natural repair processes function the way they're supposed to. But before we get into what to do, you need to understand what's really happening under the surface. To really understand this, it helps to simplify what's happening inside your body using one clear picture. Think of your body like a city powered by an electrical grid. In this system, glucose, the sugar in your bloodstream, is your electricity. It's the energy that powers everything. Insulin acts like the control system, regulating how that energy is distributed, making sure it goes where it's needed without overwhelming the network. And your stem cells, they're the repair crews, moving through the city, fixing damage, maintaining infrastructure, and keeping everything running efficiently. When energy flows steadily, the system runs smoothly. The control system stays balanced, and those repair crews can quietly do their job in the background, restoring, rebuilding, and maintaining the health of the entire city. But the moment you start your morning with a high-sugar drink, everything changes. It's like triggering a massive power surge across the grid. Suddenly, there's an overwhelming rush of electricity flooding the system. The control center, your insulin response, has to react quickly, trying to contain and redistribute that surge. At the same time, that excess energy creates instability, like sparks jumping across circuits. Those sparks are what we call oxidative stress, tiny bursts of damage happening at the cellular level. As the system struggles to stabilize, it starts sending out emergency signals. That's inflammation. Your body's way of saying something is off and needs to be controlled immediately. Now here's the critical shift. Instead of your body focusing on repair and renewal, it's forced into damage control mode. Resources get redirected. The repair crews slow down. Maintenance gets delayed. And over time, this pattern starts to compound. Because when repair slows and stress signals stay elevated even slightly day after day, you begin to see the effects, not just internally, but externally too. Less efficient repair means more gradual breakdown. Skin loses some of its resilience. Energy becomes less stable. Recovery takes longer, and the body starts to feel like it's aging faster than it should. And this is where your morning drink quietly determines which direction your body moves in. To make this truly practical, we need to break down what's actually happening into 3 core biological mechanisms that determine whether your body stays in repair mode or shifts into stress mode. Mechanism 1 is blood sugar stability. Your cells are designed to function best in a stable energy environment. When glucose levels remain steady, your internal system stays calm, predictable, and efficient. But when you start your morning with a high sugar drink, that stability is disrupted almost immediately. Blood sugar rises rapidly, insulin responds aggressively, and your body interprets it as a stress event. A simple way to picture this is like trying to keep a flame steady. A stable flame gives consistent heat and control, but sudden spikes are like repeated explosions, flaring up, dying down, and forcing the system to constantly react instead of function smoothly. Mechanism 2 is oxidative stress reduction. When blood sugar spikes occur, they increase the production of reactive oxygen species, ROS. These are unstable molecules that can damage proteins, lipids, and even DNA if they build up over time. Think of them as tiny sparks flying through a system that's already under pressure. This is where polyphenols become important. Found in certain plant-based drinks and foods, polyphenols act like natural fire extinguishers. They help neutralize excessive oxidative stress and reduce the intensity of those damaging sparks. By doing so, they help protect the delicate environment where stem cells operate and repair processes take place. Mechanism 3 is inflammation and cellular signaling. Inflammation itself is not always harmful. It's a normal response. The problem begins when it becomes chronic or constantly triggered by daily habits like repeated sugar spikes. When that happens, the body's signaling system becomes noisy and less precise. Repair instructions get delayed, distorted, or partially ignored. Polyphenols, combined with lower sugar exposure, help reduce this inflammatory noise. A useful analogy is static on a communication line. When the signal is clear, messages travel instantly and accurately. But when there's too much static, everything becomes harder to interpret and slower to respond. In this case, reducing inflammation is like clearing that static so your body's internal communication system can function properly again. When these three systems are balanced together, stable blood sugar, reduced oxidative stress, and controlled inflammation, the body naturally shifts away from survival mode and back into repair mode. Now, this isn't just theory. It's something that has been repeatedly observed in metabolic and cellular health research. For example, multiple studies on polyphenol-rich drinks like green tea have shown consistent improvements in markers related to oxidative stress and inflammation. These compounds are associated with a reduction in reactive oxygen species activity and better protection of cellular structures under metabolic stress. At the same time, research on coffee, when consumed without added sugar or high glycemic additives, shows interesting effects on metabolic health, including improved alertness and, in some cases, better glucose regulation. The key difference, however, is not just the coffee itself, but what is added to it and when it is consumed in relation to the body's natural morning glucose sensitivity. Blood sugar variability research adds another layer. Studies consistently show that frequent spikes and crashes in glucose levels are linked with poorer metabolic flexibility, the body's ability to switch efficiently between energy sources. When this flexibility is impaired, fatigue increases and recovery processes become less efficient. We also see this reflected in inflammation markers, such as C-reactive protein, or CRP. Elevated CRP levels are commonly associated with chronic low-grade inflammation. In contrast, individuals who maintain more stable glucose levels throughout the day tend to show lower inflammatory markers and improved metabolic balance overall. When we look across these findings together, a clear pattern emerges. People who maintain stable glucose levels throughout the day tend to have lower inflammation, improved insulin sensitivity, and better overall metabolic flexibility. Their mitochondria, the energy centers of the cell, also function more efficiently, producing energy in a more controlled and sustainable way. In simple terms, their bodies are better at repairing, not just surviving. Instead of constantly reacting to stress signals, their systems are able to allocate resources toward regeneration, recovery, and maintenance at the cellular level. And that's the key distinction. It's not just about energy or weight or even aging in isolation. It's about whether your body is operating in a reactive state or a restorative one. Now let's turn everything we've discussed into a simple, practical morning protocol you can actually use. Because understanding the science is important, but what matters most is what you do with your first drink of the day. We'll break this into 3 evidence-informed options you can rotate depending on your preference and tolerance. Option 1 is the green tea protocol. If you choose green tea, the timing matters. The ideal window is within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up. This is when your body is naturally more sensitive to metabolic inputs, meaning whatever you consume has a stronger signaling effect on your system. Preparation is also important. You want to avoid boiling water directly on the tea leaves because excessively high temperatures can degrade sensitive polyphenols. Instead, use hot but not boiling water to preserve the bioactive compounds that support antioxidant activity, and critically, no sugar. Adding sugar not only counteracts the benefits, it can shift the entire metabolic response in the opposite direction. Option 2 is the black coffee protocol. Plain, unsweetened coffee can be a powerful metabolic tool for many people. It can support alertness, cognitive function, and in some cases, even metabolic signaling. For some individuals, adding a small amount of healthy fat, such as MCT oil or a natural fat source, can help stabilize energy release. But the key principle remains the same. Avoid pairing it with sugar-heavy foods or sweetened additives, especially first thing in the morning, because when sugar is introduced alongside caffeine, it can amplify glucose variability and create the same stress response we've been discussing throughout this video. Option 3 is the lemon water or apple cider vinegar protocol. When properly diluted, both can serve as a gentle metabolic primer. They are best consumed before meals rather than as sugary morning drinks. Their role is not to provide energy, but to prepare the digestive and metabolic systems for the day ahead. Now here's something most people overlook: the timing itself. Your morning hours represent what we can call a metabolic set point window. This is when your body is most responsive to inputs that influence glucose regulation, insulin sensitivity, and cellular signaling. What you consume during this window helps set the tone for the rest of the day. This is why mistakes matter more in the morning than later in the day. One of the biggest errors people make is adding sugar, whether it's in juice, flavored coffee, or sweetened tea. That single addition can shift the entire response from a stable metabolic state into a reactive, stress-driven one. To make this practical, think about simple swaps. Instead of starting your day with fruit juice, energy drinks, or sugary coffee beverages, you replace that with one of these structured options. Even this small change can significantly alter your internal environment over time. And importantly, this is not about rigidity. You don't need to follow one option perfectly every day. You can rotate based on preference, lifestyle, or tolerance. The goal is flexibility with consistency, not perfection, because the real transformation doesn't come from doing everything right once. It comes from repeating the right signals consistently enough that your body adapts, and that's what truly changes the system. Here's what I tell my patients when they want this to actually work in real life, not just in theory. First, timing your drink matters just as much as what you drink. If you're going to have carbohydrates at breakfast, your body handles them better when your first morning beverage is not already loaded with sugar. In simple terms, you want to avoid stacking glucose on top of glucose right at the start of the day. That's when the biggest spikes happen. Second, pair your morning routine with a protein-rich breakfast whenever possible. Protein helps stabilize blood sugar response and reduces the intensity of post-meal glucose fluctuations. It also supports satiety, energy stability, and more balanced metabolic signaling throughout the morning. This combination creates a much calmer internal environment compared to a high-sugar, low-protein start. Another key principle I emphasize is to avoid drinking your calories first thing in the morning. Liquid sugar is absorbed rapidly, meaning your body gets a fast metabolic shock rather than a steady energy release. That's why fruit juices, sweetened coffees, and energy drinks tend to create more instability than most people realize. Now, there's also a simple synergy effect most people overlook. If you pair your morning drink routine with light movement, like a short walk, stretching, or even just 5-10 minutes of activity, you help your muscles utilize circulating glucose more efficiently. This naturally reduces blood sugar spikes and supports better insulin sensitivity early in the day. From my clinical experience, I also encourage patients to rotate their choices instead of rigidly sticking to one drink every single day. For example, green tea on some days, black coffee on others. This prevents overdependence, reduces tolerance buildup, and allows flexibility while still maintaining metabolic balance. But here's something that's often underestimated. Your morning routine doesn't exist in isolation. Sleep quality and stress levels dramatically influence how your body responds to everything you consume. Poor sleep increases insulin resistance. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which can amplify blood sugar instability. So even the best morning drink protocol works significantly better when supported by consistent sleep and stress management. When all of these pieces come together, timing, food pairing, movement, and lifestyle, you create a much more stable metabolic foundation. And that's when your body starts responding in a noticeably different way. One of the biggest problems I see is that people are unknowingly making small morning mistakes that completely change how their body responds for the rest of the day. Mistake number one is thinking healthy juices are always good. Even though they come from fruit, the fiber is removed, which means the sugar hits your bloodstream very quickly. That can trigger the same rapid glucose spike we've been talking about. A better option is whole fruit or unsweetened tea, where the absorption is much more balanced. Mistake number two is adding sugar or honey to morning drinks. People often do this to improve taste, but metabolically, it cancels out many of the benefits. Instead of supporting stability, it pushes your system back into a spike and crash cycle. Mistake number three is drinking caffeine or stimulants when you're already in a stressed state from poor sleep. In that condition, cortisol is already elevated, and adding more stimulation can worsen blood sugar instability and make your body feel even more wired but tired. Mistake number four is inconsistency. Changing your routine every single day or only doing it occasionally prevents your body from adapting. The benefits come from repeated signals over time, not one-off changes. And mistake number 5 is expecting instant visible results. Many of these changes happen internally first. Blood sugar stability, reduced inflammation, improved metabolic signaling, long before anything becomes obvious in the mirror or on the scale. Understanding these mistakes is just as important as knowing what to do, because even the right strategy won't work if these habits are quietly interfering in the background. In the first 1 to 2 weeks, most people begin noticing subtle but meaningful internal changes. Energy starts to feel more stable throughout the day. Instead of the usual mid-morning crash or afternoon dip, the body begins to maintain a more consistent rhythm. Cravings, especially for sugar or quick energy fixes, often start to reduce as blood sugar responses become more balanced. Many people describe it as feeling less dependent on constant food or caffeine spikes just to function. By weeks 3 to 6, the changes become more noticeable. Metabolic efficiency begins to improve, meaning your body becomes better at handling energy intake without dramatic spikes and crashes. Skin tone often appears more even and less fatigued looking, which is a reflection of reduced internal stress and improved hydration at the cellular level. Energy also becomes more predictable, less random fatigue, more consistent performance throughout the day. By month 2 to 3, deeper shifts start to take place. This is where underlying repair processes become more efficient. Inflammation markers tend to stabilize, and the body becomes more resilient to everyday stressors like poor sleep, irregular meals, or mental pressure. Recovery after physical or mental effort often feels faster and smoother, but it's important to stay realistic here. Progress is not linear, and results can slow down if certain factors are not controlled. Poor sleep quality, a consistently high sugar diet, and chronic stress can all significantly blunt these improvements, even if the morning routine is optimized. These factors raise cortisol, disrupt glucose balance, and interfere with the very repair processes we are trying to support. In simple terms, the body responds best when the overall environment supports stability, not just one isolated habit. And that's why consistency matters far more than intensity when it comes to long-term cellular change. The body is incredibly adaptive. One of the most important things to understand is that nothing you've learned in this video is about irreversible damage or permanent decline. Your body is constantly responding, adjusting, and recalibrating based on the signals you give it every single day. Even when internal systems like blood sugar regulation, inflammation balance, or cellular repair have been under stress for a while, they are not broken. They are responsive. And that means they can shift in a better direction when the environment improves. This is where perspective becomes powerful, because it's easy to look at health through extremes. Either everything is perfect or everything is damaged. But biology doesn't work that way. It works through patterns, repetition, and consistency, which means small decisions, repeated daily, have far more influence than one-time efforts or occasional changes. Your morning routine is one of those small decisions. And while it may seem simple on the surface, it sends a repeated signal to your metabolism, your hormones, and your cellular repair systems. Over time, those signals accumulate. They shape how your body allocates energy, how efficiently it repairs tissue, and how it responds to stress. That's why this is actually empowering, not overwhelming. Because you don't need perfection. You don't need extreme restrictions or complicated protocols. You just need awareness and the willingness to make better choices consistently over time. And the encouraging part is this: your body is always listening. It's always adapting. It's always trying to move toward balance when given the opportunity. So instead of focusing on what went wrong in the past, the real power comes from what you choose starting now. Small daily decisions truly do create massive long-term effects, not in a dramatic overnight way, but in a steady, compounding way that quietly reshapes how you feel, function, and recover. And that is something fully within your control. Let's bring everything together in a simple, clear recap. The core problem we explored is something most people never think about: morning metabolic chaos. That first drink of the day can quietly set the tone for your entire internal environment. Instead of starting in a stable, repair-friendly state, many people unknowingly trigger glucose spikes, stress responses, and inflammatory signals before the day even begins. Under the surface, 3 main mechanisms are driving this effect. First is glucose stability. Rapid spikes and crashes in blood sugar create instability that forces your body into constant correction mode. Second is oxidative stress. These fluctuations increase reactive oxygen species, which can damage delicate cellular structures if they accumulate. And third is inflammation. When this becomes chronic, it disrupts cellular signaling and interferes with the body's natural repair processes, including stem cell activity. The solution, however, is not complicated. It comes down to simple, intentional drink swaps that support stability instead of disruption. Choosing options like unsweetened green tea, black coffee, or diluted lemon water can significantly change the internal metabolic response compared to sugary or high glycemic morning drinks. And just as important as what you drink is when and how you drink it. The timing within the first hour of waking, the preparation method, and avoiding added sugars all play a critical role in shaping the body's response. When you combine timing, proper preparation, and consistent choices, you shift your system away from stress-driven metabolism and toward a more stable, repair-oriented state. That's the real takeaway. Small morning decisions can reshape your entire internal biology over time. If this helped you understand what's really happening inside your body, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. Share this with someone you care about, because most people are completely unaware that something as simple as a morning drink can quietly influence how their body repairs, recovers, and ages over time. And before you go, there's something even more important you need to know. Because while your morning drink plays a major role in shaping your metabolic environment, there's another hidden morning habit that may be damaging your cellular repair systems even more than sugar itself. It's subtle. It's routine. And for most people, it doesn't even feel like a health choice at all. Yet it can quietly disrupt your body's stress response, interfere with hormonal balance, and reduce the efficiency of your natural repair processes before the day truly begins. And the most surprising part? Most people do it every single day without realizing it. In the next video, I'm going to break down exactly what this habit is, why it has such a strong effect on your cellular health, and what you can do instead to protect your energy, focus, and long-term vitality. Because once you see it clearly, you'll never look at your morning routine the same way again.